This video will focus on citations, references, and how you can avoid plagiarism. When we ask you to put your essay into a certain formatting style or document format, we're doing so not only for our own convenience to have a standardized format of the way that things are turned in, but also to ensure that you are giving proper credit to authors and primary sources, and for you to demonstrate your understanding of the topic of the essay and the paper and how you've applied ideas from the course as well. So your instructor might throw out terms like APA or MLA, Chicago Turabian. Different disciplines use different kinds of document formatting styles. In the humanities area, which would be like your English classes, your art appreciation, they tend to focus a little bit more on how different authors influence each other and how their writing influences each other. So they spend a lot more time on the author's name and the page number, whereas in APA it's more research based. Those would be more like social sciences like psychology or sociology, and they're spending more time focusing on not only the author, but they want to know the page number and the year because they want to know how current that research is. So regardless of whether or not you are quoting someone, whether you're paraphrasing something or summarizing it, you need to make sure that you're documenting it properly, otherwise you'll be accused of plagiarism. Your basic rule of thumb is that you should have less than 20% of any of your essay as a quote or paraphrase from another source. In other words, use your own words and use that quote, paraphrase, or summary purely as something that is evidence to back up your explanation. One tool that instructors use is Turnitin, and basically what this does is it compares a paper that you have turned in to other things that are out in the world that have been submitted from other sources or are just other sources, for example, websites. So an instructor is going to see an originality report that looks something like this. It's color-coded so we can see each one of the sources that that paper might have come from. So look at number 2, the pink one. It says that it was submitted to a university, a student paper. And you'll see there's a great deal of the pink in the actual paper itself. That tells a teacher that you did not change that into your own words, that that wording right there is exactly from that student paper. So in the upper corner where it says 90% similar, that's not good. You want that number to be low. So you want to be careful, and your instructors will give you a threshold. For example, your originality report should show 20% or less, or 10% or less. In a nutshell, you really want to be able to explain the idea or concept that the essay is asking you to write about. Think about explaining it to a friend or to a family member. If you can explain the ideas and concepts to them, then that means you really understand what you're talking about and you're already translating it into your own words. If you're unable to do that, you might need to do a little bit more research and get some help with your writing. The difference between quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing is a common error. When you quote something, you must have quotation marks and you are taking exactly word for word what someone has said or you have found in a written source. When you paraphrase, you might be reading maybe a 2-page article and you are going to then say, okay, this is basically my understanding of what they were talking about in here. You're going to use your own kind of language and vocabulary and sentence structure, but you're again still attributing your original source. When you're summarizing, you're not going into as much detail as paraphrasing, and you're really only taking those main ideas and points, putting them into your own words, and using those just as emphasis points. But again, you have to attribute your original source. So how do we use this? How do we do it? Well, again, you have to be careful with citations and references because the idea is the original idea or wording is not yours. If you don't give credit, then you will be a perpetrator of plagiarism. So you want to be careful about making sure you know how to do this properly. A citation is something that is in the body of your text. So, for example, when you're reading something and you see something like this, that's what they call an in-text or an in-body citation. So you're reading something and they're giving credit to the author for that idea, that wording, whatever it might be. You have to be careful and make sure that you use that. It's one of the most common oversights that students make. They have great information in there and they're using the source properly, but they don't give it credit. That is plagiarism. You can't just list your references at the end of your paper. They have to be used within the paper. When you're using your references, that should be a separate page on its own at the very end of your paper. Depending if you're using MLA or APA or other styles, it might be called works cited or references, etc. So this would be where you would see the actual full reference information. So it would have the author and the name of the article or the book. It would have the publisher's date, all of those kinds of things. The in-body citation doesn't have that kind of detail. It's basically just an indicator saying, hey, it came from this source. So an in-text citation for the first one might say something like Environmental Defense Fund 2009, and then the reference for it would show at the end of the paper here where it says Blueprint lays out clear path for climate action with all of the other detail. Again, this is a common oversight. You can't just list the website, the URL, or just the author, whatever it might be. You need to follow these very specific formatting instructions when you're writing your paper. So why do we require these things? We want you to give us a lot of different ideas in terms of where you're getting your sources. We want you to have a variety of sources for different points of view. We want you to show a good scope of your research and depth to it. We also want you to be able to differentiate fact from opinion. So now what? You have an idea of your writing process. You have an idea of the fact that you may need help because some of the ideas I talked to you about here are things you're unfamiliar with. Use our Writing Center here at DSC. You can make one-on-one appointments for up to 50 minutes. You can have 3 scheduled appointments per week. I often recommend students to do this, especially if you're a procrastinator, because it forces you to work on it. If you have a paper coming due, go ahead and book 3 appointments now. Let's say every Monday at 3 o'clock for the next 3 weeks. That means you can go and discuss your paper on the first Monday, kind of get some ideas, and that gives you a week to work on it. Then the next Monday, you can show a rough draft and outline some ideas, things like that. Then you work on it for another week. You go back that next Monday and you can say, okay, here's my final draft. Can you give me some other feedback? It's a great way for you to be proactive and reduce some of your procrastination. The Writing Center can help you with any kind of writing at any stage. I don't know how to pick a topic. I don't know exactly what the teacher's asking for. I don't even know how to start. All of those things. We have computers on campus if you need to use it. They have a wonderful website, which I'll highlight here shortly. Plus, there's space for you to work as well, and you can even work on group projects. One thing students don't realize is that they will actually, even if you set up an appointment, they will be an audience for you if you have to do a presentation, like maybe a PowerPoint or a group presentation. They'll give you feedback not only on your presentation, but your presentation style. So it's not only writing, it's anything related to writing. The writing specialists are going to be able to help you not only understand your assignment, they'll help you brainstorm, they'll help you if you are stuck with writer's block, they'll help you with citations and references to make sure you're not plagiarizing. The one thing they won't do is they won't write it for you. So you have to keep bringing them some kind of sample or something to work with. Online students are eligible to use virtual tutoring, which means that you can get assistance online. You just need to identify yourself when you call for that appointment. So I mentioned I was going to highlight some things from the Writing Center in terms of your writing process. This is their website, and you can see information about the writing process, and they actually highlight another site called the Purdue Owl. And this is the Purdue Owl. It's a wonderful site, and it's very comprehensive. If you specifically want to look at things that will help you with your research and citation, and specifically APA and MLA style, they have very comprehensive resources there, including sample papers, so you can see exactly what it should look like with notes and suggestions as well. Also, on our Writing Center site, you'll see that we have a lot of resources as well, and there are even more under these navigation bar headings. But you can see we have videos and handouts and such for in-text citations and references, APA, MLA, and others. Our library also has info guides, and these are great because you can find reliable information for your papers. And they have this wonderful thing called the CRAP test that helps you really identify and evaluate your different sources. They have another info guide on evaluating internet sources, and as you can see, the CRAP test. But then they also have this writing and citing site within the library info guide, again on MLA, APA, and Chicago. Finally, they also have information here on their citing and documentation info guide. So that's 3 different info guides right on the library site that help you, as well as things in the Writing Center. And so there really should be no reason that you should feel that you're struggling in being able to do this kind of work or get this kind of assistance. I want to provide you with a couple of quick recommendations here from the University of North Carolina. So as I mentioned, you saw some different ideas from the University of North Carolina. If you need any assistance here at DSC, make use of our Writing Center and our library services. We're here to help you perform to your highest with your writing needs.